Unlike most TED Talks, this talk was not born of inspiration. This talk was not born out of research. This talk is surprisingly the result of a yawn. I was almost 33, I was living the life, I had a great job, I was working for LinkedIn at the time, and for the first time in my life I had some financial stability, some job security. I could look far ahead into the future. The problem was that that future did not inspire me. But let's put the future on hold for a second and go back to the past. It was one of those routine corporate performance reviews. My manager called me in and she asked to see my yearly plan. So I opened up a beautiful PowerPoint presentation. She then asked to see my 24-month strategy. I opened up a carefully laid out Excel sheet. But when she asked for my 5 years fuzzy vision, I slipped her yawn. She looked at me like, what was that? I'm like, sorry, I don't know. She goes, Tal, a guy your age and in your position, you shouldn't be yawning thinking about the future. And she was right. I had to do something, but I wasn't quite sure what. Luckily, my birthday was coming up and I was expecting the mandatory barrage of happy birthday wishes on Facebook. I thought I will harness this cyber momentum and do something about it, and posted something online, inviting my friends to join me on something I called a Hackmethon, a part intervention, part hackathon of the self. A full day which I will trust them to give me feedback, re-examine my life, and help me plan a better future. Now, as a self-proclaimed lifelong learner who never graduated high school, who never obtained a university degree, I grew accustomed to learning from other people, as opposed to teachers and classrooms and exams. So this grandiose and narcissistic plan made perfect sense to me. I posted this online, and you might not be able to get the Hebrew, but you can see there was about 200 engagements. Now, some of the comments on this thread were guys saying, it's about time. Some other guys saying, can I bring a friend on this day of exploration? And some of these guys thought I needed help so badly, they even shared it with their networks. I was clearly onto something. I wasn't quite sure what, but I was clearly onto something. My idea was bringing everyone into the same room, and I imagined it like some sort of a birthday party. But instead of opening presents, we will be unwrapping my future self. So there I was, July 2017, all alone in a fully equipped room, ready to relaunch my life, waiting for my friends to show up, but wondering, will they? Imagine the relief when the first person knocked on the door. A former manager of mine, she saw the post and she figured she'll come in and lend a hand. Afterwards, some other guys started trickling in. My BFF from Tel Aviv, an army mate, a colleague, my sister showed up, even a girl I once dated was there. Think about it for yourself for 1 second. If I'm to ask you to relaunch your lives, what would a day like this include? For me, it meant doing 3 things. It meant doing some sort of a mental map, bringing everyone onto the same page, letting them know what I'm about now. Second thing was hosting a brainstorm session, making sure I capture all of the different perspectives. And lastly was an Ask Me Anything session. This was a session in which you sit and there is one rule. I have to answer everything that they ask me. There's no avoiding, there's no deflecting. I can only stop answering when they decide they had enough and that they're satisfied with my answer. That's Essentially, their job was to take what they know of me and use it to plan a better future. My job was to do as I was told. No backing out, no excuses. They plan, I execute. It was as simple as it was scary. Now, 8 hours into this day, I was a complete wreck. I was tired and I was nervous and my shoulders were hurting and yet I couldn't sit still. I was waiting my so-called verdict. What's waiting behind that door? It was then that they called me back, and the 10-meter walk back into the room seemed to last forever. What feedback they'll give me? What future do they have in mind? I walked into that room and there were 3 groups ready to pitch my life back to me. They had flip charts, they had post-it notes, they had whiteboards. There was even a camera rolling. My tush barely touched the seat when one of the guys from the first group jumped at me, saying, Tal, don't sit down, look at me now. I'm looking, talk to me. Do you want to start a business or do you want to be the business? It took me a second. I came to grips and I started answering. Well, I am equally passionate about both options. I'm as enthused. Stop. He stopped me. I'm like, what? He goes, oh, what is it? You're not a politician. You're presenting. You're not answering. Turn off the camera. No one's turning off the camera. I want it all captured. Turn the goddamn camera off. Turn it off. And everyone started, turn it off. I had no other choice but to turn it off. Surprisingly, immediately, my body language changed. Shoulders slouched. No more hand gestures. I felt depleted. I felt defenseless. And then he kept going. I know you long enough to say that you're not staying put in any one place to start a business or sign paychecks. This is why you brought us here. And the sooner you admit you like the spotlight, the sooner you admit you like being the center of attention, the sooner we can start giving you the advice you need. The guy had a point, and I had to admit, maybe I do like the spotlight. Second group was a little easier. I walked in and the guys, Tal, you have it all figured out, or mostly figured out. You have a job you like, you have friends who love you, but this Hackmethon thing, maybe you're onto something. Our ask of you is that you make this tool available to others who would want to use it. Simple enough. I said, yes, I will. And meeting you folks here today, after writing a book about it, I feel like I've completed my part of the deal. The third group, though, they looked me square in the eye and kept the same pattern, the same narrative of the first group, saying, we know you have a job you like, but we also know you, and that means it won't last forever. That means you'll end up falling out of love with your corporate gig. The problem we identified is that you don't have a plan B. You've put everything you have into the job you're doing now, and there's nothing waiting for you after it's over. You need a side hustle, a side gig, a professional lifeboat, if you will. It all made sense, and we started thinking of ideas when one of the girls interrupted and said, enough with these complex ideas. We don't need another grandiose project. We need one simple first step. What do you suggest? I asked, and she went, look, I just started working for a startup that's about education technology. I'm like, okay, go on. What is it that people call you for advice on? Finally, an easy question. I asked, career advice, career guidance. She goes, good. You take what you know and you put it in a talk or a workshop or a presentation, and you start teaching for that startup I work for. Her pitch was compelling. They were willing to pay me some money. We shook hands, and with that, the day ended. Almost 10 hours of this thing. And my comfort was that my work was already cut out for me. I knew exactly what I need to do next. I spent the next few months building Hackmethon into a methodology anyone else could use. I started delivering those personal branding workshops for that education technology startup. Now, going into that room, I did not know what to expect. What future will they plan for me? What tile are they seeing? But walking out of that room, I felt held. I felt that their ideas were almost mine. They were accurate, they were on point. It's like they were there all along. You see, I was walking into that room expecting to be roasted, but I left that room feeling loved. Who would have thought? Fast forward 1 year and I've completely transformed my life. I quit my job with LinkedIn. I relocated back to Tel Aviv. I kept on delivering those workshops. They were growing in popularity, and I have to tell you something. After years in a corporate sales role, the transition from pitching to teaching felt absolutely amazing. It instilled a new sense of meaning back into my life, something I had almost completely forgotten about. Fast forward a few more months, and I landed my dream job with that company, helping them recruit teachers all around the world. But this story is not about my personal career, and it's also not about how all of you can transform yours. It might sound counterintuitive, but this story is about rediscovering the concept of love. You see, in my opinion, love itself, it's not enough. At least, not as we're used to thinking about it. We're used to thinking about love as a place of acceptance, a no judgment zone, a source of harmony. But acceptance doesn't necessarily create change. And harmony only yields content. And content people aren't motivated to evolve. For me, love is about accountability. Love is about trusting our immediate environment to care enough about us to confront us when we're about to make a wrong turn. If you will, love is the ultimate insurance policy against numbness, against stagnation. The love we need, it's not blind. The love we need sees right through us. It sees through our patterns and through our limitations and through our fears. Leaving this room today, I want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. What if there was a future you that is so remarkable, so amazing, you can't even begin to imagine it? But if you can, who can? Who are those people in your life that know you better than you know yourself? Who are those people whose vision of you extends far beyond your fears and your patterns and your limitations? And lastly, once you've recognized those people, will you trust them to guide you? Because if you will not only relaunch your life, you might just rediscover the whole concept of love.